see a lot of passion at those meetings, and not just from the adults. You see some bright young minds that are very passionate and engaged about when it comes to their own education. We are replacing the Commissioner of Education at this table only, I should clarify, with Doug Thaman, the Executive Director of Missouri Charter Public School Administration. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
First of all, and our two principals are still with us. And sometimes there's a little tension between public schools and charter schools. What's your take on the situation of education in the St. Louis area?
Well, I think, when you look at what you just saw, I think what you heard was people saying, we need options, and those options need to exist, and we don't just need schools for the sake of having schools, we need good options. And it's fantastic that there are students who have the benefits of Jennings High School and Gateway STEM, but there are a lot of students who don't have those options. And so that's the role with charters. It's not a silver bullet. It's not meant to replace districts. It's meant to say, let's make sure there are good options. And so what a great situation if I as a parent can say, I'm going to be able to choose between sending my child to Jennings High School or sending my child to a charter high school, and they're both performing and doing really well. That's when we know that education has really turned the corner, when families have more good options and they're not just choosing one because the rest aren't meeting the needs of their child.
And not to go off on a whole charter school episode here, but just as a little clarification, can anyone choose the charter schools in the St. Louis area? Because a lot of times you hear pushback. There's a selection bias that charter schools don't have to take everyone. Do you have to take everyone?
You do not. You have to take everyone, but charter schools have they are open enrollment schools, and they are public schools. And charter schools, in their application, in their charter, they are able to establish their class sizes and the size of that school. If more students are seeking seats in that school than there are seats available, there's a lottery for that. But there's no entry criteria, there's no testing criteria. It is open enrollment. The objective is that you're establishing a model of a school, typically smaller schools, that really allow your administration and your teachers to really develop relationships with those families. You were just talking about the importance of those relationships. And great instruction happens, I agree, when you have those relationships with kids.
Okay, so thank you for the clarification. Let's back it out just a little bit to what a charter school in the St. Louis area and other public schools might face. Are there different challenges? I believe the answer is yes. Being a city school in a highly populated area, in the core of our urban area here, are there challenges you face there that they might not see in rural areas where they might have sway in, say, the state legislature?
Certainly. When we look at just all the societal issues, the poverty levels, when you look at the violence, all of those things are factors for our students. We know that trauma and things like that really have a huge impact on a student's learning. So when I have a student who has had a house fire or has witnessed a murder or has had violence in the home, that directly impacts their education. And what that relates to then for us is what Ms. Bergdorf was talking about, which is that we have to really give much more wraparound services. We are not just schools nowadays where you come and you learn the subjects. We see to social needs, we see to family needs. We really try to take care of the whole child because that's the only way to get them educated.
Well, you washers and dryers, you said.
Mm-hmm. Washers and dryers, warming centers on cold days when we don't have school because we don't have buses. But the schools are still open because students still have to eat. And we are very aware in Jennings that a lot of our students, the only time that they get at least 2 full meals for the day is days that school's in session. So we've opened a food pantry for our community over the last 2 years. It's grown in leaps and bounds every month that it's opened. So it is very wraparound. I want to go back to charters just a second. We push each other. Dr. Bender and I, we talk about scores. When we see each other as principals, it's a different conversation now as a high school principal than it was a few years ago. So even with charter schools, it's still I'm still competitive. But it's still, I think our teachers and our administrators need to hear that. That when parents have a choice, what am I going to do at my high school to make sure my parents don't want to choose anywhere else? They do have Lutheran North. It's right up the street from Jennings. what do I do so that my parents don't choose Lutheran North? It is things like make sure that my ACT scores are growing, make sure that I have college access classes so that my kids can get the same avenues that other students can get, so that they don't choose anywhere else. They come right to their home school.
We heard the student putting the lawmakers on the spot there. Are you confident that there, or can solutions come from Jefferson City for public or charter schools? Are there needs that they can meet?
I think what could come from Jefferson City, and this is a year that even with session only being in its third week, where the discussion around education is a daily thing, which is great. What can come from Jefferson City is establishing the parameters, placing the boundaries. You can't legislate relationships, you can't legislate climate, but you can set those parameters, you can set those boundaries, you can make sure those options, the opportunity to have options and choice are available. And from there, then it moves to the schools and the educators who really are on the front line every day, regardless of whether it's a charter school, a district school, a private school. It really doesn't matter what type. Those are the folks on the front line really that are developing those relationships and working with those kids.
Confident in Jefferson City?
I'm always optimistic, yes. I think we're getting a better idea of what schools need than we used to. I think people are becoming more vocal. I think politicians are understanding our needs better. We'll see what happens.
Because I love children, yes. I try not to miss a day if I can help it. I love you all.
For more than 20 years, Elizabeth Shumpert has been on the corner of Forsyth and Asbury in University City, every morning and every afternoon during the school year.
It's a wonderful start to their day. Every morning, Elizabeth greets them with a smile. She cares for them. She knows most of them by name.
Come on, baby.
Today is Elizabeth's 75th birthday, and the children she protects on their way to and from school care for her too.
Happy birthday, and thanks for all you do for us.
And I thank you all for doing so much for me too. I don't care how cold it is, I still try to be here for you all.